The percentage volume oscillator, or PVO, is a momentum oscillator for volume. It measures the difference between two volume-based moving averages as a percentage of the larger moving average. Let's go ahead and load it up on this chart for Yahoo here at StockCharts.com. Down here in the chart attributes area, click in the indicators box and scroll down a little, and there is the percent volume oscillator PVO. Now it's set at a standard setting of 1226.9, which is, it looks exactly like the MACD and the PPO, which is a percentage based MACD. So it has a blue histogram. It has the PVO here, which is the 12 and 26 moving averages, and the 9-period signal line here in red. And it's positive when the PVO crosses up through the signal line. That makes the histogram cross up through 0 and become positive. But this one measures not only positive volume but negative volume. See right here, the PVO crosses up through the signal line, the histogram goes positive above 0, and that was on big volume, huge volume on a down move. Then volume falls off, but the stock breaks out to new highs above old resistance, which is kind of unusual. It usually takes bigger volume. I mean, this was 5 days in a row. It was bigger than this volume on that breakout, so, you know, this makes sense. PVO was positive. Okay? Volume falls off as it consolidates. That was too far too fast, so it pulls back to old resistance, makes it support. And then it breaks out into blue sky territory again on huge volume. PVO goes positive above the signal line, and the histogram pops up above the 0 line, going positive. Okay, then this area right here is what I call a breakdown pattern. There's no actual chart pattern named after it. It's just how it looks. Some people would call this a bull flag with lower highs and lower lows. But the important thing to remember is support levels right here. When it closes this day below all support, huge volume comes in for a number of days. Now, every lesson I talk about speaks of volume. Volume is the most important indicator of them all. Big volume is usually found at tops and at bottoms. Here's big volume at a bottom. Here's big volume at a top. Here's huge volume at a bottom. It increases, the sell-off volume increases until it reaches equilibrium, and then buyers step in again. Okay? So when it broke support here, it got huge volume on the down move, increasing volume until the biggest day, where it probably hit the lower Bollinger Band and bounced. Then formed a bullish double bottom chart pattern shaped like a W. And when it broke above neckline resistance right here on this day, volume was picking up, but it was approaching the old resistance levels here. And it always takes big volume to break above old resistance. And here it comes. It's building, one down day, and then bam, the biggest volume on the chart on great news that day, forming a little bit of a gap at the open, not enough to worry about, and a beautiful white candlestick that closes almost exactly at the high of the day. So that's a perfect example of a blue sky breakout above all levels of resistance on the biggest volume on the chart. Then comes the reversal doji, and then another down day with a gap down. Now it's consolidating again. This is starting to look like this area here, but it can go one of two ways. Draw a trend line of support through the lows. If it breaks below that, volume will increase, PVO will go up. And the same thing if it breaks above these levels of resistance. Volume will pick up. It almost has to break above resistance. Okay, it should be up in the 30, 40, maybe even 50 million range. And to break above this one, it's also going to take that kind of volume. Okay, but right here on this breakout into blue sky territory, PVO got the highest reading right here. Now this indicator does not signal buy or sell. It's simply a study of volume. And I urge you to always study volume because it will signal tops and bottoms and breakdowns of support and breakouts above resistance. You will always see big volume during those times. Now let's take a look at the signals PVO has given on this chart for Groupon Incorporated, ticker symbol GRPN. To begin with, huge volume on a gap down that day. Just really bad news or bad earnings or something. Down from a close at 6 to an open below 5, closer to 4. But the bulls fight back. Okay, right here, PVO goes ballistic on that move. Then volume falls off. So PVO goes negative below 0. Crosses down through the signal line right here. Okay. Then the stock consolidates. It tries to break out. But PVO can't even get a positive reading on the histogram, much less a serious crossover here. So the projected breakout into blue sky territory failed because of low volume. Then it pulls back a little on low volume. It tries to break out again and does. This time the volume just a little bit higher on that one day. But that was enough. But it wasn't enough of a follow through because volume falls off. The PVO crosses back down through the signal line. Okay? And then it crosses back up through here because it has formed a little bitty double top chart pattern shaped like an M, and it broke down through neckline support right there, and the stock went down. And as usual, big volume called the bottom. Okay, that was a pretty good reading on the PVO. But then, PVO is positive, but it gaps up and breaks out into blue sky territory on the second biggest volume on the chart. That's exactly what you want to see right here. Huge volume on a breakout into blue sky territory. It closed this day right here at the highest high on the chart. Okay? But it took this kind of volume to get it going here. So this was 1, 2, 3, about 5 days of good volume. It increased right near the end as it broke out into blue sky territory. Okay? Then the stock goes up on fairly low volume. But volume falls off to nothing, so it does a little pullback to attract more buyers. Then we're looking at a breakout above resistance right here in this area. And it gets it on the hugest volume in about a month. And it breaks out into blue sky territory and starts running. There's a lot of green volume in this area. This day was pretty big, and then this day. And it just kept breaking out into blue sky territory. There was no resistance, but it takes that kind of volume to keep a rally going. Okay, I don't see any real huge volume here at the top. The volume falls off. PVO goes way down. It crosses down through the 0 line, crosses down through the signal line, and then here's the first little inkling that something's going on. Volume does start to pick up a little here, but it's still consolidating in an uptrend. And then more good news or good earnings comes here. Okay, and it gaps up from 9 to almost $11, $10.50 at the open. And PVO goes wild. Okay, so this was a breakout into blue sky territory above all levels of resistance on the biggest volume in at least over a month. And, it goes all the way back to this one. So this kind of huge volume, the biggest volume in 5 months, breaks it out into blue sky territory above all resistance. Exactly what you want to see. And then volume falls off as it pulls back. It fills the gap. Okay, filling the gap does not necessarily mean coming back to the close. It has to come back to the highest level of resistance it had, which it did, and it made it support. This is now support at old resistance here and here. Okay, and the stock starts moving up again, forming a nice little double bottom chart pattern, and it looks like this was the highest close in this zone right here. Volume, not quite good enough. It needs another day of bigger volume tomorrow to get it to go test this old high here, and it will take not necessarily this kind of volume, but it would be nice if it got really big volume, 50 to 75 million, if it's going to break out into blue sky territory above the $11 mark.